"Leave my house," Millionaire shouted. 3 years later, his ex-wife returned, with a baby he never met. "Hello, my beautiful friends, it's James here. Today I have a story that will take your hearts on a journey through love, heartbreak, betrayal, and the power of redemption. But before we dive in, let's take a moment to breathe together. I pray that this story touches your soul, reminds you of your strength, and teaches us all that even in the darkest moments, love can guide us back to hope. And my dear friends, as you watch this story, I want to ask you something meaningful. If you had to choose between letting go of someone you love or protecting your own heart, what would you do? Comment below. I truly want to hear your thoughts because every story we share also teaches us about ourselves. Now, let's begin. "Leave my house." The words tore through the marble hallway like a blade, sharp enough to sever the thin thread of hope Amelia had been clinging to. Lucas Hale's voice, usually cold, controlled, perfectly measured like a man who ruled empires, was shaking with fury. Actual fury. The kind that came from somewhere deep, somewhere dangerous. Amelia stood at the center of the grand foyer, her small suitcase trembling in her hand, her breath trapped like a dying bird in her throat. She tried to absorb the shattering moment, to understand how a marriage, forced upon her, but one she still tried to honor, could end so violently, so cruelly, so suddenly. "Lucas." Her voice was soft, broken around the edges, a whisper swallowed by the vast stone walls. He didn't look at her. He looked through her, like she was a mistake that had finally exhausted his patience. "My family was right," he hissed. "You were never meant to stand beside me. You don't fit my world. You never did." Her heart cracked, slowly, quietly, but the break was complete. She swallowed hard. "I'm your wife. For now." He stepped closer, his blue eyes burning with something colder than hatred, indifference. "But you don't deserve me, Amelia. I'm done pretending." It hurt. God, it hurt. Each word was a blow, bruising something tender deep inside. "Why? Why now?" she whispered, barely able to breathe. His jaw clenched, his voice dropped to a low growl. "Because I'm in love with someone else." The sentence was a gunshot, clean, final, devastating. Amelia's grip on her suitcase faltered. Lucas didn't stop. He wanted her to break. She saw it, sensed it, felt it. "She's everything you're not," he said ruthlessly. "Beautiful, polished, white, someone my parents actually approve of, someone who belongs." Her chest tightened like a vice. "Her name is Celeste," he continued, softer now, almost reverent. "She's the woman I should have married." Amelia forced her eyes to stay dry, but they betrayed her, filling until the hallway blurred like a watercolor left in the rain. "So that's it?" she whispered. "3 months, and I'm nothing?" "A mistake," he said. The final blow, sharp, precise, merciless. Amelia's legs threatened to collapse beneath her. 3 months of cold silences, of feeling unwanted, of sleeping alone. She had survived all of that. But this was something else. Lucas stepped aside, opening the door behind her, like he was dismissing a servant. "Leave, Amelia," he said quietly, "before I say something even worse." Her fingers tightened around the suitcase handle. She lowered her head, shielding her expression from him, though it didn't matter. He wouldn't look anyway. "I hope," she whispered, "that you never regret this." He laughed, a small, humorless sound. "I won't." That was the last thing she heard before she stepped outside, the mansion's heavy door closing behind her like the gates of a kingdom that had never accepted her. The world outside was cold, too cold, or maybe she was simply numb. Amelia walked blindly down the driveway, the wind biting her cheeks. She didn't wipe the tears away. Let them fall. Let them burn. Let them carve the truth into her skin. He never wanted you. He never chose you. You were only an obligation. She'd known it from the beginning. Their forced marriage had been arranged by his parents, old money, old power, and a legacy they guarded with iron claws. Amelia had been the unwanted variable, the brown-skinned girl whose presence in their gleaming alabaster world felt like a stain. Lucas had never touched her, never kissed her, never looked at her like she was anything more than a burden. But some foolish, fragile part of her had hoped that maybe, time would soften him, that maybe he would see her heart, her loyalty, her love that he never earned, but she had given anyway. A hollow ache spread through her chest as she reached the street. She stopped walking, leaning against a cold stone pillar, trying to breathe through the shattering. Don't fall apart, she told herself. Not here, not now. But the night didn't listen. It pressed in on her from every side. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message from an unknown number. She wiped her tears with trembling fingers and opened it. It was Lucas's mother. You will leave quietly. You will not contact him again. Consider it a mercy. Another message appeared instantly. If you truly care for him, disappear. You have nothing to offer him except ruin. A sob crawled up Amelia's throat, but she forced it down. This was it. The final confirmation. They wanted her gone, erased, forgotten. She exhaled shakily and pressed her hand to her stomach, an unconscious gesture she didn't understand yet. Fine, she whispered. I'll go. She pushed herself away from the pillar, the suitcase wheels scraping the pavement as she started walking again. The city lights blurred through tears she no longer bothered to wipe. She boarded the first bus that came. No destination, no plan. Just away, away from him, away from the life she had been foolish enough to imagine. Hours later, in a tiny, dimly lit rental room far from the marble mansion, Amelia sat on the floor, knees pulled to her chest. Her body felt strange, heavy, off-center. A low, persistent nausea churned inside her, something she had ignored for days. She thought it was stress, heartbreak, exhaustion. But now, alone in the quiet, a terrifying suspicion slipped into her mind. No, she murmured. She pushed herself up, heart pounding, and stumbled into the bathroom. She rummaged through her bag until her fingers closed around the small pharmacy bag she had impulsively bought a week ago but never opened. Her hands shook as she unwrapped the slender test stick. Minutes crawled by, slow, suffocating, eternal. She stared at the tiny screen, her breath caught in her chest. Then it appeared. A second line, bold, bright, undeniable. Amelia's heart stopped. Her hand flew to her mouth as tears burst from her eyes, not from heartbreak this time, but from something deeper, more overwhelming. Pregnant, she whispered, knees giving out beneath her. She collapsed to the cold tile floor, trembling, her entire world tilting on its axis. Lucas Hale had thrown her out, rejected her, erased her. But he had no idea. She wasn't leaving his house alone. She was carrying his child. And that was the moment, heartbroken, terrified, devastated, that the next chapter of her life began. Because just as Amelia whispered, "My baby," a knock suddenly thundered at the door, a knock from someone she never expected. The knock thundered again, harder, sharper, urgent enough to rattle the thin wooden door of the tiny room Amelia had collapsed in. She froze. Her hands still trembled from the positive test, lying on the bathroom sink, its bright second line glowing like a sentence she wasn't ready to read. Her breath hitched, her heartbeat scattering wildly against her ribs. Who could possibly have followed her? She stood slowly, legs unsteady, and crept toward the door. The third knock came, this time accompanied by a voice she recognized instantly. "Amelia, open the door." Her blood turned to ice. Lucas's mother, Margaret Hale, the woman whose voice could turn flowers to stone, the woman who had orchestrated the cold machinery of this marriage and its demise. Amelia's lungs seized painfully. She stepped back, instinctively pressing her hand to her stomach, as if shielding the tiny, fragile life inside. No, not her, not now. But Margaret continued, voice slicing through the cheap walls. I know you're in there, and I will say this once, and only once. Amelia's fingers curled around the edge of the dresser, knuckles whitening. She swallowed a tremble and forced herself to speak. What do you want? Her voice was thin, frayed, but steady. Margaret didn't bother with courtesy. Open the door. Amelia didn't. She couldn't. The silence stretched, heavy, dangerous, until Margaret exhaled, her disdain audible through the wood. Very well, we'll speak like this. A rustle of papers. Then, cold, precise words. You will disappear. Tonight. Completely. Amelia's breath faltered. You have already caused enough damage, Margaret continued. Lucas is shaken, embarrassed. His future, our legacy, cannot be jeopardized by emotional theatrics. Emotional theatrics. The words sank deep, cutting cleanly. Amelia closed her eyes. Margaret went on, voice dripping with authority that had crushed countless people before her. He has responsibilities, status, a reputation to uphold. The woman he loves is waiting for him to reclaim the life he derailed by pitying you. A sharp, hollow ache tore through Amelia's chest, but she stayed silent. This marriage was never meant to be real, Margaret added, and now that it has ended, you will do your part. You will vanish, quietly, permanently. Amelia forced air into her lungs. Every breath tasted like iron. And if I don't, she whispered. Margaret chuckled, soft, cruel. You're a smart girl. Don't pretend to misunderstand. A pause. A slow, deliberate pause. Then, we will ruin you. Every muscle in Amelia's body locked. You think you've seen cruelty? Margaret's voice lowered, cold as winter steel. You haven't even glimpsed it. My family protects itself, at any cost. Her words pressed on Amelia's spine like a physical force. And Lucas, Amelia murmured, knowing the answer but needing to hear it spoken. He has already moved on, Margaret replied. Celeste is the match he was meant for, elegant, refined, pure, a proper wife, not, her voice dipped with venom, a charity case he was forced into. The humiliation hit like a slap. Amelia's hand shot up to her mouth as her throat tightened violently. Margaret continued, relentless. He will not come after you. He will not ask for you. He is free now, and he wishes to remain so. Amelia sank onto the edge of the bed, trembling. She saw Lucas's face earlier, cold, burning with rejection, and knew. Margaret was right. He wouldn't come. He wouldn't care. He wouldn't fight for her. But he didn't know. He didn't know what was growing inside her. He didn't know the life she had just discovered. Amelia wrapped her arms around her stomach, a protective instinct so fierce it startled her. Margaret's voice sliced in again. Sign the papers. I am sliding under the door. They state that you leave the marriage with no claim to the Aahil name, fortune, or reputation. In exchange, you get a small financial settlement, enough to rebuild your life elsewhere. The paper slid beneath the door with a soft hiss. A pen followed. And remember, Amelia, Margaret added, voice tightening like a leash. If you stay, if you linger, if you dare to disrupt Lucas's future, a beat, the silence cracked with the weight of the threat. You will regret it. Then heels clicked away. Footsteps faded down the hallway. The building's entrance door slammed, leaving Amelia alone. In the suffocating quiet, with a test in the bathroom and a contract on the floor, she stared at the paper. Her vision blurred. She could barely breathe. A baby. His baby. She pressed her palm harder to her abdomen, tears falling silently down her cheeks. A soft, aching warmth spread beneath her hand, a tiny spark of life she hadn't expected but suddenly needed more than the air she was breathing. "How can I protect you?" she whispered. The question echoed through the dim room. She thought of Lucas, his chilling dismissal, the way he looked at her as if she were nothing, the cruel words that still scorched her heart. "He doesn't deserve to know," her mind whispered, but her heart ached otherwise. Yet Margaret's threat was real, terrifyingly real. If his powerful family discovered her pregnancy, they could take everything, even her child. Her breath stuttered, her fingers trembled violently. "No," she whispered fiercely, "you won't have this one thing. You won't touch my baby." The decision began forming, not as a choice, but as an instinct, a survival instinct, a mother's instinct. Amelia stood, slowly, like someone walking out of a crumbling world and into a new one. She picked up the paper, read the words through swimming tears. "This contract ensures your permanent departure. No contact with Lucas Hale, no interference with Hale family affairs, non-disclosure of marriage details." Her heartbeat hammered, hard, dangerous. She could stay and be destroyed, or she could disappear and protect the tiny life inside her from the rot of the world she was leaving. Her breath broke, her vision blurred again. She grabbed the pen. Her hand hovered above the signature line. "Forgive me," she whispered, to herself, to the child, maybe even to the ghost of the husband she had loved more than she should have. She signed, her name shaking across the paper. Amelia Hart Hale, a name she would never use again. Then she folded the document with trembling fingers and slid it back under the door. The sound was small, almost nothing, but it changed everything. She stared at the empty space where the paper had been. Then she whispered 4 words that felt like a vow, a promise, a declaration carved from the ruins of her heart. "I will disappear now." Her voice cracked. Her soul didn't. Somewhere outside, a car engine started, likely Margaret's. Inside, Amelia pressed her hand to her stomach and closed her eyes. She had chosen. For her child, for herself, against the world that had crushed her. She would vanish. She would survive. She would raise this baby far away from the Hale name. But as she gathered her few things, a cold realization crept up her spine, chilling her blood. She had no idea that by signing that contract, she had just stepped into a danger even greater than the Hales themselves. The night outside the cheap motel window was black, so black it felt like ink seeping into the corners of the room, threatening to swallow everything Amelia was trying desperately to hold together. She sat on the edge of the narrow bed, arms wrapped tightly around herself. Her palms were cold, her lips trembled. The pregnancy test lay face down on the nightstand, but she didn't need to look at it. The truth pulsed within her. It was impossible to ignore. She was carrying Lucas Hale's child, the man who had thrown her out like a forgotten shadow, the man who told her she didn't deserve him, the man who claimed another woman, Celeste, was everything she wasn't. Amelia closed her eyes, fighting the burn of humiliation and heartbreak that rose like a wave determined to drown her. She whispered into the empty room, "I will protect you. I promise." The words came instinctively, a vow forged from shattered pieces of a woman who had lost everything except the little heartbeat she had only just discovered. But promises did not change reality. Her money was nearly gone. Her job had been swallowed when she married Lucas. His family insisted she quit, since Hale wives did not work. She had no home, no support, no safety net. Running away was noble. Surviving it was something else entirely. A sudden pounding on the door jolted her upright. She froze. Again. Was it Margaret returning? Had she come back to ensure Amelia was gone? Or, worse, to take what she'd just learned existed? The knocking came again, this time slower, heavier, deliberate. A warning. Amelia's stomach twisted with nausea, not from the pregnancy this time, but from fear. She approached the door and pressed her ear against it. "Amelia Hart," a male voice asked, calm, cold, polished. Not Lucas. Not a man she knew. "Yes," she forced out. "Open the door. I'm here on behalf of the Hale family." Her pulse plummeted. She inhaled shakily and cracked the door open just enough to see a tall man in a tailored charcoal suit standing in the hallway. His face was expressionless, like carved stone. A briefcase hung from his hand. He looked like the kind of man who cleaned up other people's sins for a living. Amelia's throat tightened. "What do you want?" He bowed his head slightly, a gesture of false respect. "Mrs. Hale." "I'm not Mrs. Hale," she whispered. "Legally, until the paperwork is processed, you still are," he corrected. "Which means we must finalize the terms of your departure." Her heart stumbled. "The contract, I signed it. Isn't that enough?" The man shook his head slowly. "No, not for a family like the Hales." A chill slid down her spine. He motioned to the latch. "May I enter?" "No." The refusal shot out, sharper than she intended. He didn't argue. He simply opened his briefcase with a soft click and pulled out a sleek black folder. "This," he said, "is the full settlement." Amelia swallowed hard. "I don't want their money." "This isn't about what you want," he replied. His voice held no malice, just the deadly neutrality of someone delivering a verdict. "This is about ensuring there are no complications." Complications. The word hit her like a blow. He didn't know she was pregnant. No one did. Not yet. But if they suspected, if they investigated, if they learned. Her hand instinctively drifted to her stomach again, protective, fearful. The man's eyes flicked down, just briefly, noticing the gesture. He didn't comment. Instead, he held out the folder. Inside were documents, pages of binding agreements, non-disclosure clauses, consequences outlined with chilling clarity. And then she saw the check. Her breath caught. It was more money than she had ever seen. Enough to disappear, enough to change a life, enough to protect a child with private schooling, health care, a future. Her fingertips trembled as they hovered over the number. "This is yours," the man said quietly, "if you sign the additional clauses." "What clauses?" Her voice barely held together. He flipped the page. Her eyes scanned the text. Every line was a trap disguised as kindness. She could never speak of the marriage, never return to the Hale estate, never contact Lucas, never reveal anything about the Hale family, never disclose the reason for the separation, and the final clause, hidden deep but unmistakable. If a child is born of this marriage, the Hale family must be notified immediately for evaluation and custody discussions. Amelia's blood froze. "No, no, no." She stumbled back, horror twisting her face. "I won't sign that," she breathed. "You can't make me." The man's jaw tightened with professional patience. "Mrs. Hale, stop calling me that." He exhaled slowly. "Amelia," he said, voice lower now, "let me be frank. The Hale family is powerful. If they suspect something, if they believe you are withholding anything, you will lose far more than a name." Her throat squeezed painfully. Was this a threat, or a warning, or both? "I have nothing of theirs," she whispered. A lie, a fragile lie that trembled in the air. The man's eyes sharpened, like he sensed it. "Sign the settlement," he said. "Take the money. Start over. That is the safest path, especially if you plan to rebuild your life alone." Alone? Yes, that was her reality now. But then he lowered his voice, and the coldness in it chilled her bones. "And if, hypothetically, there were ever a child involved, Miss Hart." He paused. "Accepting this settlement would ensure the Hale family never comes looking." Her heartbeat stopped. He didn't know, but he suspected. The walls felt like they were closing in. The air was too thin. Her vision dimmed at the edges. "And if I don't sign," she whispered. He didn't blink. "You won't win. Their reach is longer than your hope." Her knees wobbled. "How do you expect me to trust you?" she whispered. "I don't," he said simply. "But I expect you to understand reality." Reality. Yes. Reality was the shadow of the Hale family stretching over her future like a storm. Reality was her pregnancy, fragile, secret, everything. Reality was survival. She looked at the check again. Her throat tightened. Tears pricked her eyes. She could run with nothing, dangerous, or run with resources, safer. The baby inside her needed safety, stability, protection. Her hand trembled as she reached for the pen. "This doesn't mean I'm afraid of them," she said, voice cracking. "No," the man replied softly. "It means you're smart enough to live." She lowered her head, closed her eyes, and signed the sinister contract that would steal her name forever. When she lifted her gaze, the man closed the folder with a quiet snap. But then he said something that made her entire body go cold. "Miss Hart, you need to leave this city by dawn. They already know you're pregnant." Her breath collapsed. "What?" she choked out. "How?" But he didn't answer. He only stepped back into the hallway, expression unreadable. And before she could say another word, he whispered, "Run." The door clicked shut, leaving her alone, and hunted. The sun had nearly set by the time Zara reached home. The sky outside her window was bruised purple, just like her heart. She didn't turn on the lights. She didn't need them. Darkness felt kinder. She set her bag down, leaned her head against the wall, and finally let the tears fall. Quietly, silently, like she had trained herself for years. She didn't cry because Aahil had insulted her. She didn't cry because he acted like she was a stranger. She cried because for a split second, just one, she had looked into his eyes and thought she saw him again. The man who once held her trembling hands on their wedding night and whispered, "I'll spend my whole life protecting you." But he was gone. Zara slid down to the floor, hugging her knees. The apartment smelled faintly of lavender detergent and old books. Her safe place, her only place. But tonight it felt too small, too tight, too full of memories she didn't want. Her phone buzzed, a single message from her sister. "Did he see you? What happened?" Zara stared at it for long seconds before typing slowly. "Nothing. Exactly what I expected." She put the phone face down. Her head dropped to her knees, breathing shallow as if the hurt itself had taken the air away. Maybe it had. A knock at the door. Sharp, impatient. "Mail." Zara froze. No. 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 He wouldn't come here. She forced herself up, wiped her face with trembling hands, and opened the door only a little. She expected a neighbor, but it was him, Aahil, standing there in his dark tailored suit, eyes stormy, jaw clenched, chest rising and falling like he had run all the way. She swallowed. "What?" Her voice cracked. "What are you doing here?" His gaze swept over her swollen eyes, her unsteady posture, the undone buttons of her shirt she didn't realize were open from stress. He looked away sharply, jaw tightening. "We need to talk," he said. "No," she whispered. "We don't." He stepped forward, forcing her to step back. "Zara, I'm not asking." She stiffened as he walked inside uninvited, the room suddenly too small with his presence. He filled it. He always had. "What do you want?" she managed. His eyes met hers, and for a second something flickered there. Something wounded, something he tried to kill. "What were you doing in that office today?" he demanded. Zara blinked. "It's my new job." "That job?" His voice dripped disbelief. "In my building." "I didn't know it was yours," she lied softly. And they both knew it. He took a slow step closer. You could have applied anywhere in the city, he murmured, eyes narrowing. But somehow, you landed in my company. Her heart pounded in her throat. Aahil, the world doesn't revolve around you. It used to, he said quietly, almost too quietly. Her breath hitched. He suddenly turned away, fingers pushing through his hair in frustration. Why now, Zara? After 2 years, you appear out of nowhere. What are you planning? Planning. Her laugh was broken, painful, almost hysterical. What do you think I am? Some villain in your life now? He said nothing, but the silence answered for him. Her voice trembled. I came because I need this job, because I have responsibilities, because life didn't stop for me when you— Don't, he snapped, voice raw. Don't turn this on me. She stared at him, stunned. Something inside her snapped. You left me, Aahil, she cried. You divorced me. You walked away like I was nothing. He flinched. For the first time, he actually flinched. His voice dropped to a whisper. You think walking away was easy for me? She froze. He closed his eyes as if remembering something he wished he could forget. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But you still did it, she said, voice breaking. He opened his eyes, and the man standing before her wasn't cruel, wasn't arrogant, wasn't cold. He was haunted. Aahil. Why? She whispered. Why did you leave me? What did I do wrong? His hands curled into fists. You didn't do anything wrong. Her heart thudded painfully. Then why? Because loving you— His voice cracked, the first fracture she had heard in 2 years. Made me weak. Zara stared at him as if the floor had disappeared beneath her. Weak. He had called their love weakness. She stepped back from him slowly, like retreating from a fire that burned too hot. Get out, she whispered. He looked at her, stunned. Aahil, leave, please. He hesitated. For a moment, his expression softened, as if he wanted to reach for her, as if part of him still remembered the nights he held her until dawn, but he masked it quickly. Cold again, like always. Fine, he said quietly, but this conversation isn't over. She didn't answer. He opened the door, paused just briefly, and looked back. His eyes softened for a single second. Barely there, barely real. Then he walked out. The door closed behind him. Silence. A suffocating silence. Zara's legs gave out and she sank to the floor again, breath shaking, tears spilling without her permission. Why? Why now? Why was he here? Why was he acting like he cared when he was the one who shattered everything? She pressed a hand to her mouth to stop the sob that escaped. Everything hurt. Everything burned. Then, another wave of nausea hit. Hard, deep, sharp. She staggered to the bathroom, gripping the sink. Her reflection stared back at her, pale, sweaty, trembling. Her stomach churned again. Not from stress, not from crying, not from hunger. This was something else. She opened the cabinet and took out the small paper bag she had shoved there this morning. Inside it, the pregnancy test. She hadn't taken it earlier. She had been too scared, too overwhelmed. But now, she felt it. Her body already knew. Her hands shook violently as she opened the box. No, no, not now, she whispered, sobs breaking through her voice. She couldn't be pregnant. Not with his child. Not after everything. Not when he hated her. Not when he still loved someone else. Her vision blurred as she took the test. 1 minute passed, 2, 3, 4. She closed her eyes. Her whole body trembled. She forced herself to look. And there it was, 2 pink lines. Positive. Zara choked on a sob. Her fingers shook around the small plastic stick. I'm pregnant, she whispered. But the next words shattered her. It's his. Her tears fell harder. Her world spun. Everything she thought she escaped was coming back. Zara didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of her bed with the pregnancy test still lying on the blanket beside her, the two pink lines glowing like a cruel destiny she wasn't ready to face. Every sound in the apartment felt too loud, even her own breathing. She pressed a hand over her mouth as another silent sob escaped. A baby. His baby. Aahil's child. Her body felt too small for the truth inside it. The more she tried to steady her breath, the more her vision burned. Every memory of him, his hands, his laugh, his promises, wrapped around her like a wire, tightening until she felt she might break. A child didn't just bring Aahil back into her world. A child tied her to him forever, and he had called her love a weakness. Zara squeezed her eyes shut. "No," she whispered shakily. "I won't go back. I can't." But the child was innocent. The child was hers. The child's heartbeat would one day echo inside her chest. Her trembling hand touched her stomach, barely flat beneath her clothes. A single whisper left her lips. "I will protect you, no matter what, even if I have to protect you from him." The next morning, Zara barely recognized herself in the mirror as she dressed for work. Her face was too pale, her eyes swollen. She tied her hair into a neat bun, applied foundation to hide traces of last night, and forced herself to breathe normally. Her baby needed strength, not panic, not tears. She reached the office earlier than anyone else, wanting to avoid him. But fate, cruel as always, had other plans. She stepped into the lobby and froze. He was already there. Aahil, standing near the glass wall, speaking to someone on the phone, his tie loosened as though he had been up all night too. His brows were furrowed, his expression sharp with irritation. Aahil didn't look like a man who slept peacefully. He looked like a man who dreamt of something he didn't want to remember. Zara attempted to walk past without drawing attention, but his eyes found her anyway, like they always did. The moment he saw her, the phone lowered from his ear. His stare slid over her face, searching, assessing, reading what she tried to hide. She raised her chin a little and forced a polite expression. "Good morning, sir," she said quietly. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped closer. His eyes narrowed the moment he got near enough to really look at her. "What happened to you?" he asked. Her breath stuttered. I'm fine." "You're lying." His voice was low and certain. "You look pale and tired. Did something happen after I left yesterday?" Her chest tightened painfully. He had noticed. He always noticed when it came to her, whether he admitted it or not. "I just didn't sleep well," she whispered. Aahil studied her face for a long, unblinking moment. Something flashed in his eyes, a mix of guilt and frustration. "Zara," he said quietly, "I shouldn't have shown up at your place last night." Her heart stopped. He looked away, jaw clenching. "I crossed a line." She swallowed hard, unsure how to respond. He continued, voice strained. "Seeing you there, looking at me like you wanted me gone." His jaw tightened further. "It shouldn't have affected me, but it did." Her fingers curled at her sides. "Aahil, you don't have to say anything, but I do." She stiffened. His gaze dropped briefly, as if searching for courage. "When I saw you yesterday," he murmured, "it felt like something old inside me woke up, something I thought I killed." Her heartbeat stumbled painfully. He forced his eyes up to hers. "But that part of me doesn't exist anymore," he said harshly, almost as if convincing himself. "It can't exist." A sharp ache shot through her chest. "Then please," she whispered, her voice trembling, "don't confuse me." His expression flickered. "Is that what you think I'm doing?" "You said loving me made you weak," she said softly. "Those words don't disappear." He said nothing. His silence cut deeper than anything else. Zara stepped back. "I have work to do, sir." She moved past him. He didn't stop her. but he watched her walk away with a frown so deep it almost looked like pain. Later that afternoon, Zara was filing reports when a wave of dizziness washed over her. The room blurred for a moment. She gripped the desk to steady herself. Not now. Please, not now. She sat slowly, breathing through the nausea threatening to rise again. Morning sickness. She didn't even have the luxury to deal with it. She closed her eyes until it passed. When she finally reopened them, he was standing in front of her. Aahil's expression had shifted from irritation to something else. Concern. "How long have you been like this?" he asked sharply. Her pulse spiked. "Like what?" "You're shaking, you're sweating, and you've taken 3 deep breaths in the last 30 seconds. She swallowed nervously. "It's just stress." He didn't buy that. "Get your bag," he ordered. "What? Why?" "I'm taking you to the doctor." Zara's heart dropped. "No," she said too quickly, panic flashing in her voice. "I don't need a doctor. I just need a little rest." "Zara," he said, voice low, "this isn't optional." "I said I'm fine." He stepped closer, too close. "What are you hiding from me?" Her breath hitched. His eyes were burning into hers, searching, trying to pull the truth out of her. She looked away quickly. "I'm not hiding anything." Another lie. Aahil noticed. Her bottom lip trembled. Her hands shook. His eyes softened the tiniest bit. "Zara." His voice dropped, gentle, almost pleading. "Talk to me. What's wrong?" She pressed a hand to her stomach instinctively. His eyes followed the small movement. Her entire body froze. Aahil's expression changed. Confusion, then suspicion, then something deeper. Fear. No. Something raw. "What was that?" he asked quietly. "Why did you touch your stomach?" Zara's heart slammed against her ribs. I wasn't." "Yes, you did." He took another step. "Are you sick?" His eyes darkened. "Are you hurt?" "No." "Then what?" "Please stop," she choked out. He did. He froze instantly at the break in her voice. Tears burned behind her eyes. She couldn't tell him. Not now. Not when he didn't trust her. Not when he resented the love they once had. Aahil stared at her with an intensity that made breathing difficult. "Zara, something is wrong. I can see it." She shook her head weakly. "It's nothing. Please let it go." His jaw flexed. "For now," he said slowly. "But I'll find out eventually." Her stomach twisted with terror. He turned and walked away, but his last glance over his shoulder lingered on her stomach again, like a man sensing something he didn't want to believe. Aahil will begin putting pieces together, while Zara tries desperately to hide her pregnancy, but her body starts giving her away. Rain hammered against the windows of the small cafe where Zara sat, her hands wrapped around a cup of untouched tea. She stared out at the street, watching cars blur into streaks of light. Everything inside her felt heavier today. Her body was changing. Her emotions were fraying. Her secrets were tightening around her like a noose. She pressed a trembling hand against her abdomen. She wasn't showing yet, but she felt the baby now. A strange, fluttering heaviness, tiny but undeniable. A warmth that lived beneath her ribs, a reminder that every breath she took, every step she made, every decision she wrestled with, was no longer only hers. She should leave, disappear before he learned a truth that could shatter both of them. But fate had a cruel timing, because the door of the cafe swung open, and she walked in, Aahil's mother, tall, cold, elegant as winter glass, wrapped in a white coat that shimmered like ice. Her gray eyes moved sharply through the cafe until they landed on Zara. Zara froze. Even from across the room, the older woman's stare felt like a blade. With slow, measured steps, she approached Zara's table. "Stand up," she ordered. Zara's breath faltered, but she remained seated. "I said stand." Zara lifted her chin. "I'm not your daughter-in-law anymore. You don't get to order me." A thin smile curved the woman's lips. It held no kindness. "No," she agreed quietly. "You're not my daughter-in-law, and thank God for that." Zara looked away, throat tightening. Aahil's mother leaned in slightly. "You were a mistake, and I will not allow my son to be entangled with you again." Zara's pulse hammered so loudly she could hear it. She whispered, "Why are you here?" The woman's eyes darkened, sharp with certainty. "To confirm something." Her gaze dropped to Zara's stomach. Zara's hand instinctively moved to cover it. Aahil's mother saw, and her smile sharpened to a blade. "So," she murmured, "it's true." Zara's chest collapsed inward. She felt exposed, pinned, crushed. "I don't know what you think." "Oh, please," the older woman cut coldly. "You gained weight only here. Your face is pale. You look nauseous. You tried to avoid my son." And he noticed. Zara's breath hitched. "He came home last night asking questions," she continued. "Questions he shouldn't be asking. Questions about you." Zara's fingers tightened around her cup. "He's suspicious," the older woman said, voice low. "And suspicion is dangerous, because suspicion becomes truth, and truth becomes attachment." She leaned closer, the scent of her expensive perfume suffocating. "And attachment is something I will not allow." Zara felt sick, her hands shaking. "Why?" she whispered. "Why do you hate me so much?" "Hate?" The woman arched a brow. "Don't flatter yourself. I don't hate you. I simply see you clearly. You are insignificant." Zara swallowed hard. "I've done nothing to you," she whispered. "You existed," the older woman replied simply. And that itself was too much. Zara felt tears sting her eyes. "You ruined my son once," the mother continued. "You will not ruin him again." "He loved me," Zara said quietly. "He was weak," she snapped. "You made him weak." Zara's heart cracked. "And now you're carrying something that will destroy him." The air went still. Zara gripped the table, her knuckles white. Aahil's mother lowered her voice to a chilling whisper. "You will not tell him about the child." Zara's stomach twisted violently. "You will not go near him. You will not speak to him. You will not reveal anything." Zara forced words past her trembling lips. "And if I do?" The woman smiled again, cold, victorious. "Then I will make sure your life becomes unlivable. I will take everything you have. I will ruin your career. I will ruin your reputation. And if that is not enough," she leaned in closer, "I will take your baby." Zara's entire body went rigid. "You wouldn't," she whispered, horror choking her. "I would," the older woman replied without emotion. "And I will. You think money cannot buy anything. You're wrong." Zara covered her stomach protectively, her throat closing. "This is my child," she whispered, "not yours." "Your child is a threat," the mother replied coldly. "And threats must be removed." Zara's voice broke. "You're a monster." "Perhaps, but I'm a mother who protects her own." Her hand reached into her coat and slid something across the table. A thick envelope. Zara stared at it, dread pooling in her chest. "What is that?" she whispered. "Enough money," the woman said, "to ensure you disappear before the week is over." Zara looked up sharply. "I'm not running." "You will," the woman said confidently. "For the child's sake, if not your own." Zara pushed the envelope back. The older woman didn't flinch. "You have until Friday," she said calmly. "After that, I won't be so gentle." She turned to walk away. But halfway to the door, she paused and looked back. Her eyes were winter steel. "If my son finds out about that baby," she said softly, "I will blame you, and you will not be able to protect the child from what comes next." Zara felt the blood drain from her face. "And Zara," the woman's voice turned almost mocking, "don't forget, I always win." Then she walked out of the cafe, leaving Zara trembling, breathless, and shattered. Zara pressed both hands over her stomach, tears spilling freely. "I will protect you," she whispered to her unborn child. "I swear, I will protect you from them." Her phone buzzed suddenly. She looked at the screen. Her heart stopped. "Aahil, where are you? I need to talk to you." Now, Zara's breath broke. Aahil's mother had been right. He was suspicious, and getting closer. Too close. A shiver ran down Zara's spine. There was no escaping this now, because he was coming. And he was about to uncover a truth she wasn't ready to reveal. Aahil is now actively pursuing her, while his mother has just threatened her and the baby Zara ran. Not through a storm, not through darkness, not through some dangerous alley, but through fear. Raw, suffocating fear. The cafe door slammed behind her as she stepped into the icy afternoon air, her breath coming out in short, uneven bursts. The echo of Aahil's mother's threat clung to her like a stain she couldn't scrub off. "If my son finds out about the baby, you won't be able to protect it." Her stomach twisted. She wrapped both arms around herself, instinctively shielding the tiny life growing inside her. She couldn't face Aahil. Not today. Not when her entire world was cracking under her feet. But fate had its own cruel rhythm. Because the moment she reached the sidewalk, a black car pulled up. It stopped too abruptly. The back door flew open, and he stepped out. Aahil. Tall, commanding, his presence a blade into the quiet of the street. His blue eyes locked onto her immediately, sharp, searching, burning. She froze. He looked like a man who had broken every speed limit to get here. Like a man on the verge of losing something he wasn't ready to admit he still cared about. "Zara," he said, voice low but trembling with restrained urgency. "Get in the car." "No," she breathed, stepping back. Her voice was small, fragile, a bird with broken wings. He took a step toward her. "Zara, please, just talk to me." "There's nothing to talk about," she whispered. His jaw clenched. "You're lying again," he said, "and you're terrible at it." A shaky breath left her lips. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Why can't you leave me alone now?" His eyes flickered, hurt, confusion, frustration. "Because something is wrong," he said, "and because I can't—" His breath hitched. "I can't stop thinking about you." Her heart nearly stopped. He rubbed a hand over his jaw as if angry at himself for admitting it. "I tried," he said, voice rough. "I tried to forget you, replace you, erase you." His eyes dropped to the pavement, then lifted again, blazing. "But every night I remember the look on your face when I told you to leave." Her lips trembled. "And it follows me," he whispered, "like a punishment I deserve." The words were a knife. She swallowed hard. "You don't need to punish yourself. We're done." "No," he breathed. "No, we're not." Another step, too close. Zara's back hit the brick wall behind her. Her lungs throbbed. "Aahil, don't." He raised a hand slowly, not touching her, just lifting it close enough that she felt the warmth of his palm hover inches away from her cheek. "I need to know what you're hiding." Tears threatened her eyes. "You don't," she whispered. "Yes," he said softly. "I do." His gaze drifted down to her abdomen. She immediately wrapped her arms around herself. Aahil's breath stopped. His voice cracked. "Why are you protecting your stomach like that?" "I'm not." "Yes," he said, stepping forward, voice dropping to a tremor. "You are. Every time I see you, you do it. And when I asked you yesterday why you were pale, why you were dizzy—" His eyes widened. "Oh, God." A whisper. A heavy, shaking whisper. "Zara, are you sick?" "No." "Then what is it?" he demanded. "I can't tell you." "Why?" "Because your mother will destroy my life. Because she threatened to take the baby. Because you said loving me made you weak." Her lips parted, but no words came. Aahil's voice softened to something unbearable. Zara, talk to me. He reached out, cupping her face gently, almost desperately. Please, for once, don't run. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Let me go, she whispered. He didn't. His thumb moved slowly across her cheek, wiping a tear he didn't cause. Yet he carried the weight of all of them. What did my family do? He asked quietly. Zara's heart lurched. How? Because I know them, he said. I know what my mother is capable of. I know what she thinks of you. And I know she went somewhere today. I could feel it in her voice when she called. Zara's pulse spiked. She called you, she breathed. His eyes hardened. Did she threaten you? Zara looked down. That was all the answer he needed. Rage entered his eyes, hot, violent, terrifying. She did, he whispered. That woman. He closed his eyes, breathing hard. I swear I will. No, Zara cried, grabbing his wrist. Aahil, stop. Please, don't do anything. She scared you. His voice broke. She made you cry, and I let this happen. Zara shook her head desperately. No, Aahil, listen to me. No. His tone was iron now. I'm done listening. This ends today. Zara felt her heart crack. He didn't understand. This wasn't just about her. This was about the tiny heartbeat inside her. I have to protect my baby, she whispered, too softly, too suddenly, too painfully. He froze. The world stilled. A beat of silence, heavy, shattering. Then his voice came out broken. Your what? Zara's lips trembled. Aahil's hand dropped from her cheek like it suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. Zara, he whispered, breath shaking. What did you just say? Her eyes filled with tears. Her throat closed. Her body trembled. She choked. I didn't mean. Your baby? His voice cracked open completely. Zara, what baby? She covered her mouth. Aahil's eyes widened further, horror and hope crashing together violently. Zara, he begged, stepping closer, grabbing her shoulders with shaking hands. Tell me. She sobbed. Aahil, please. Is it mine? His voice ripped through the street, raw, devastated, terrified. Zara slammed her eyes shut. Please, she whispered, don't make this harder. That silence that followed wasn't silence. It was an earthquake. Aahil staggered back as if she had hit him. His face broke, completely. Oh God, he whispered, a tremor running through him. Zara, you're pregnant. He swallowed hard. And it's mine. Her tears spilled. Aahil, please. How long have you known? 2 weeks. And you weren't going to tell me? I had no choice. You always have a choice. His voice cracked with agony. You think I wouldn't have protected you, protected our child. Your mother, her voice broke painfully, said she'd take the baby. Aahil's world detonated. Rage, real, uncontrollable rage, flashed across his face, something she had never seen before. She what? His voice shook with fury. She threatened my child. Zara backed away. This wasn't the man she once loved. This was someone who had just had his soul ripped open. Aahil's eyes burned, blue fire drowning in betrayal, guilt, heartbreak. I'm going to her, he said, voice low, dangerous. She will never touch you again. Never. Aahil, stop. You don't understand. But he was already stepping back toward the car. And that's when it happened. A sharp, violent pain stabbed her abdomen. Zara gasped, her knees buckled. Aahil! He turned instantly, just in time to see her collapse, his face drained of blood. Zara! He ran toward her, arms outstretched, panic tearing through every inch of him. As she clutched her stomach, tears streaming, whispering, Something's wrong. The baby. And everything went black. The truth is out. The confrontation explodes, and now the baby, their baby, is in danger. The sterile whiteness of the hospital corridor made Zara feel like she had been stripped of everything, every shred of control, every fragment of hope. Her hand clutched the hospital bed rail, knuckles white, heart hammering. Every breath felt jagged, every heartbeat a drumbeat of terror. Aahil was beside her, kneeling on the floor. He refused the chair nurses offered, kneeling as if that could somehow make the world stop spinning around them. His hands were wrapped around hers, fingers tight, trembling with fear and fury. "Zara," he whispered, voice cracked, almost hoarse. "Look at me. Please, look at me." Her eyes, red-rimmed and swollen, finally found his. They saw the man who had shattered her world, who had left her to fight alone, now broken, bare, desperate. I, I thought," he began, swallowing hard. "I thought I lost you, and the baby." Her tears fell freely. "It's okay, Aahil. I'm here. We're here. The baby is fine." His eyes filled with disbelief. "We?" His voice dropped into a whisper, raw, intimate. "You mean you kept it safe all this time, and you—" His gaze dropped to her stomach. "You didn't tell me because of my mother?" Zara nodded weakly, biting her lip. "I had to protect him, to protect all of us. I couldn't let her take away what belongs to both of us, even if it meant hiding from you, from everything." Ahil's jaw flexed, rage and guilt warred inside him, but beneath that, something softer began to bloom, a tenderness, a reverence he thought he had lost. "I've been a fool," he admitted, voice breaking. "I left you. I listened to them. I called loving you a weakness, when it was the strongest thing I'd ever done." Zara's heart throbbed. The old pain flickered, but it was tempered now by the miracle in her arms, the tiny life that connected them in ways nothing else could. "You weren't weak, Aahil," she whispered. "You were human. You made mistakes, but I've lived with mine too. And now, we have to make choices, together." His gaze dropped to her abdomen, where the faint life of their child pulsed with undeniable strength. His hands hovered over her stomach, trembling, before finally resting lightly, reverently, as if he were afraid to break what he had failed to protect for so long. I am so sorry," he whispered, voice almost a plea. "I will never let anyone hurt you again, ever. Not my mother, not anyone." Zara leaned into his touch, letting the storm of grief, anger, and longing fall away, if only for a moment. "But Aahil," she murmured, voice cautious, "this doesn't just undo the past 2 years. Things have to change. We have to be ready for everything that comes next." He nodded solemnly. "I know, and I will burn every bridge behind me if I have to. My family, my power, my pride. None of it matters if I lose you again." Tears spilled from her eyes. It's not just me, it's the baby too." His fingers trailed softly along her cheek, brushing away stray tears. His eyes, deep blue and now raw with emotion, searched hers. "Then we do it together. We fight, we protect, and we love, relentlessly, because that is the only duty that matters." Hours later, the birth was long, painful, and raw. Zara fought with everything she had, sweat and tears mingling as the tiny cries of their baby finally broke through the thick air of the delivery room. Aahil held her hand the entire time, never letting go, whispering words of encouragement, of love, of redemption. When the baby was finally placed in Zara's arms, a fragile tiny girl with a soft swirl of dark hair, everything in the world fell away. Only the three of them existed. Aahil leaned over, pressing his forehead against hers, letting the tears spill freely. "She's perfect," he whispered, voice thick with awe. "Just like you. Just like us." Zara laughed softly through her tears, rocking the child. "She has your eyes," she said. voice trembling. He looked down at her and then at the baby, shaking his head in disbelief. I don't deserve either of you. You do, Zara said firmly. You just have to choose to stay, to fight, to love properly this time. That's all I ask. Aahil's jaw tightened. He looked at the mother who had tried to control everything, at the life he had tried to ignore, and finally, fully understood the weight of his mistakes. I choose, he whispered, voice steady now, certain. I choose you. I choose her. I choose us. Forever. The aftermath. Within days, Aahil confronted his mother. The confrontation was quiet, devastating in its simplicity. He laid out his choice in no uncertain terms. The child was off limits. Zara was off limits. And anyone who interfered would lose everything: inheritance, favor, and even their influence over him. The icy woman stared at him, expression unreadable, but even her steel couldn't match the storm in his eyes. Finally, she turned, leaving with a cold finality, knowing she had been defeated, not by rage, but by love, determination, and the unshakable bond of family that she could never break. Meanwhile, Zara's life began to bloom anew. She returned to her work, now empowered, confident, financially independent. Aahil supported her without suffocating, learning the balance between protection and trust. Every step they took was a rebuilding of what had been shattered. The baby grew, watched over by two people who had once lost everything and now vowed never to lose again. She was the symbol of their redemption, their love forged through heartbreak, betrayal, and sacrifice. Aahil often caught himself staring at Zara as she laughed with their child. The memory of how he had left her still burned, but it no longer haunted him. Now it reminded him of everything he had fought to reclaim. Do you ever regret it? Zara asked one evening, sitting on the sofa, their baby sleeping in a cradle nearby. Aahil shook his head, brushing her hair behind her ear. I regret leaving you. But everything else, the struggle, the waiting, the fear, it all led me here, to you, to her, to this. Zara leaned her head against his chest. Then maybe the pain was worth it. He kissed her forehead, smiling softly. The pain was worth you, worth all of it. Outside, the city pulsed with life, unaware of the love, the battles, and the redemption happening quietly within a modest apartment. Inside, everything was calm. For the first time, truly calm. They had survived betrayal. They had survived power, pride, and fear. And most importantly, they had survived each other. Aahil held both Zara and their child close, whispering promises he had once failed to keep. I will never leave again. Never. You are my family. You are my life. And love. Love is the only duty that matters. Zara smiled through tears, their fingers intertwined over the baby's chest. For the first time in years, she felt unbreakable. And in that moment, the past, the pain, the betrayal, all of it, was finally laid to rest, because they had chosen each other, and that choice finally was enough.